those experiences are signs that what we are doing here is God ordained. Yes. All right, God ordained. And so we are going to begin with anyone who has a question now or comments that you want to share, and maybe they want to give a feedback based on anything that yes, you want to put so far or the air so far on the platform. Yes, Sister
Okay, so I have a question. I work in an environment where there's often a lot of conflict, which I am expected to quell and to solve. And there's a lot of prejudices. There are a lot of prejudices. And I want to be able to bring this that I'm hearing to a varied group of people. How do you suggest this is introduced to people of different religions, people of different social status? What is the simplest, easiest way? So probably bring this to somebody who doesn't even believe in God. What can you tell them about forgiveness and love and love? Because I believe I have a purpose for them.
Right.
And I just don't know how to.
Right. So I think the question also will be what approach.
Yes.
That's the message, what approach.
What is the, that is the question.
That's the question. Okay. So anyone of you?
Yeah, I mean, I would say start with things that are common, meaning commonalities that can strike a conversation, continue a conversation. So common interests. So you mentioned the issue of maybe the person will believe in God. Or the approach is person. Start with common things that you identify with, they identify with, and can agree with having a conversation and start building from it. People of different denominations, at least they believe in God. So if there's a discussion about God, it's not too hard because they already believe in God. So, somehow you would strike up a conversation about God. And if they believe in God, they won't mind having that conversation. And I would say, have you ever considered the word forgiveness or forgiveness? How that impact the gospel is actually about forgiveness. Maybe start with and then build around it. But start with something that is common with their interests as well. And I think even with somebody who is not religious, you could start a conversation that they will identify with, relationship. They may be married. That's it. So we probably can start introduce the issue of forgiveness and the need for it in our relationship. So I suggest, I would start here.
Before you go over that, will you repeat your question again?
Say, what's
Repeat your question.
Repeat the question.
I was saying that I work in an environment where I have expected to solve a lot of conflicts. And for people of different religions, different backgrounds. And so I would like to know what approach I should take in sharing the gospel of forgiveness with others, with this.
I think that's a good but brave enough to start. I will add to what he said. You may not be able to present it to them in terms of a group message. You want to share it to the large body, but it may not be that you can do it in a group, right? But you can do it to an individual.
It's individual. It's a large amount of people. But it has to be done individually.
Yes, yes, yes. That's what I'm saying. You start with an individual, right? One person. And the best way to start with that one person is by befriending that person, being a friend to that person, seek to become a friend, being kind, ask the Lord to lead you to that one person that will listen, that one person who will trust you, who can be a friend to that point whereby that person now will come to you and will begin to ask you questions because they see that your life is different. You may not necessarily have to tell it to them, they may initiate it because of the fact that you have made a friend, and now the Spirit is working upon that person to ask you a question about your faith, about your lifestyle, and in reality that's your objective, but you are doing it to we use a term friendship evangelism, and that is a good approach. Because truly we are up against a lot of prejudices. We are up against we are up against barriers that we cannot get over. We would like to, but the Lord may be saying to us, take one battle at a time, one individual at a time. And eventually the Lord will remove all these barriers when the National Assembly goes past. But now we try to take them one at a time by making one friend.
That's it.
To say that, when you're in these positions and such, you interact with a lot of individuals that love to hate you because of the position that you have. So you come in to deal with the issue of conflict. They already have in their mind a kind of standoffish approach. So I would think to myself, make them part of the solution. Make them part of the solution in terms of asking them, we have a situation that has been developed in whatever you are not how do you suggest that we deal with it? Because most people have the answer what to give. They just need you to be a mediator in solving the problem. Do you think when they present what they say? So that sounds like you're able to move around it, and at the end of the day, when you feel that, well, I can want a solution, you are empowered, and so it goes on to nobody will use it to heal their children have been done, or in discipline, or you are for me, or you are against me. Because people write a public presentation, and I said, it's different, she hate me. There was not say, how do you know? And I said already, against to hit back. Right? So when you bring down those barriers with the staff, you kind of bring them adhere to this and to always get what you have to say. In terms of whatever country that you have.
Yeah, so I have found out in terms of my own experience, when you're in a position of authority, you see the thing they call fairness in operation, that doesn't bring down barriers. Anytime people realize you're fair in your judgment, they bring down the barriers. In other words, this Brandt is my partner, I let him go early. He's not my partner, I tell you, stay still, he turned up for you. And then you start that kind of thing. According to my father who had a shotgun. Right? You saw him. He says small booty, big booty, same shot. Anytime people know their fear, and sometimes in your fairness, you have to make some decision that people don't really like it, but they realize you're making it for everybody. Your fear in your judgment and your how you do things. Yeah? But in doing that also, you're not doing it like a Idi Amin kind of thing.
Yes.
You're doing it with the fairness where you're explaining to people too. You're making them, you're making friends. Yeah? In that, when you make a decision against Rajna, you call them in your office and you tell them, listen, this is the situation. I need to be fair in terms of how I operate. I can't do this for you here. Yeah. Or I will do this for you because I can do it for everybody else. But you can't be doing something for somebody and you can't do it for somebody else. Anytime that's that, no respect. Yeah. But anytime you have fear across the board, in other words, if you can do something for Rajat, you must be able to do it for anybody. If you ain't doing it for Rajat, you must not do it for nobody. That kind of fairness. Let me tell you something, you don't be half of that witness of that. The next half will be the people who running around and telling everybody, hey, me and like she number one thing. She fear in terms of her judgment. Them does witness for you. Yeah? And that to me does make a difference in open that kind of a window, as it were. I find that word I use in a lot of these days. Yeah.
Okay, Sister Vanessa. Right. Okay, so we want to Noble Hospitals, Alfred, for their responses. My wife, what she would have shared in terms of the question. All right, so let's continue. Any other questions, concerns? Answers, Sister Paula?
Certainly, see how grateful, privileged I am for truly coming and blessing this small group. When I kept on asking how many people are going, and when I came in, I was also crying, and I said, wow, you can come up and bless us. And I feel really, really blessed that you all still come and share so much. One question I have is this, is on forgiveness, right? We hear folks say that I forgive, but yet you don't demonstrate forgiveness, How is a person, the other person, is going to know that they are forgiven? Since in my mind, forgiveness is something that we demonstrate, For me to illustrate that, how to love, to love unconditional. If your enemy hungry, feed him. If he's thirsty, give him water to drink, and he's so doing, you should pose a fire inside. So I know when I heard a person say, I forgive, but yet I see them passing person on the street, straight, without a morning or evening. And it confuses me, because I really think that the person who said they forgive is genuine, but yet it's not demonstrated. So I want to know if there's a forgiveness like that, when God demonstrated His love as a demonstration to what else, So if I can get it, I want to hear your thoughts on the that.
Yes. There is that song that says, actions speak louder than words. Who used to sing that song? Jimmy Cliff? Jimmy Cliff? Somebody from Jamaica. Right. Actions speak louder than words. And that is true. Love is an action word, not just words. If I say I love you, I can say that 1,000 times, but if you don't see it, you know, and you see my action saying something else, then which one would you believe?
Yes.
Of course, of course, of course. So, the demonstration of God's love for us is the cross. We supposed to die on the cross, and He took our place on the cross. And we go free. That is love. Right? That is love. So that someone can take your place on death row. Man, the cross is saying, look how much I love you. You know, the nails in his hands. Look how much I love you. That's supposed to be your nail print. But now it is, I have taken it. You know, I have forgiven you. I love you, and I'm demonstrating it through forgiveness, through taking your place. Right? You see the demonstration? You know, on the cross. So, I'm saying that we have to not just tell others we love them, it must be also demonstrated. Our enemies who may hate us, and that's why they're our enemies, right? Because they have something in their heart against us, you know. They don't like us. So they, and as a result, they treat us, they mistreat us. So our enemies, we are to love them. And how are we to love them? We are to show it in our actions. Christ says, if they ask you to go to the mile, you go to. If they ask you to take a coat or something like that. So Christ is trying to show action, you know, as it relates to loving your enemies. And when your enemies see that, wow, you know, they see the kindness in you, it does something to them. It can move them to, it can soften their hearts, or it can make it harder. You know, it can just make them more, it can make them more resentful of you, more bitter of you, like with Christ, you know. But they cannot run from the fact that you have shown them love, you know, that you love them. You cannot run from that because of your treatment towards them. I don't know. I hope I have answered that question. You might want to answer.
Some of the things we need to know about what offense does to us. We spoke about that this morning. How it would cause us naturally to react. And part of that you mentioned, we think that the person is sincere in saying that they forgive, but still that you see them go past this other person. Not saying good morning, not showing that everything is all right. So what that person is going through is struggling with what the offense has caused. So what it has created is resentment. They may not realize that there is still some level of resentment still there. You know, though they may say they forgive in mouth, and though they may still interact with the person to some extent. You know, some people need to go as far as, okay, you know, they could do some act of kindness. But there is some level of, I've seen brothers say, oh yeah, I can do this, but they have not forgiven. You have not forgiven. If the issue comes up, you'll see and hear the conversation to know that there is still resentment that happens. So that resentment that is created, as it's called, because it is dissension. And so anytime you see not a full act of receiving this person as though they never done any wrong in the first place, that's what forgiveness does, man. It treats you as though you didn't commit any wrong. That's how God treats us, as though we never wrong. You know what I'm saying? And so when you see these things to be present, you know the person is still struggling with forgiveness. It's a struggle, it's still struggling. And I would say, if you notice, and say, even though they say, well, I forgive, but, I used to notice that whenever you used to pass before this situation, you used to say, oh, that's also, even when I was single, but now I still look in that direction, it was still. Though you told me that you were sincere, forgot about the question is sincerity, but I am looking at your actions, Pastor mentioned. And it seems to me there's some residue, remnant of feeling of resentment that is still there, still present. And we all go through this. It may say we fully forgive. Some of us will go far as do something for somebody, but we are murmuring on our breath. You know what I'm saying? You still help them out, but you're still murmuring on your breath. Like you're really doing it, but you don't want to do it. That is a sign to let you know that you're forgiven. You have not let go the right to resent for that offense. What you're experiencing is some level of resentment still present. So, if that is present, I think the answer to that, as Pastor mentioned, is looking back at Christ. How did Christ deal with you? What offended in the past and still offended? You see that renewing this person with you every morning when you wake up. Without even asking, before you even pray, he removes his forgiveness with you, ready to give you a full day. So he's treating you, he's not holding the offense against you anymore. So he's treating you as no one. Another thing is the issue of protecting himself from this person. So some people say, I love them from afar. You might have heard this. I forgive them, but I love them from afar. You've heard that statement, right? I forgive them, but I love them from afar. Why would you? Before that, you never had a problem loving them near. So why all of a sudden, you will love them from afar? You just still struggling with true forgiveness. You're still struggling. And it's okay to say that. But people are saying, no, I forgive. But still, I don't want to be around. So you're protecting yourself from being hurt. Once again, that's a part of the result of offense. You don't want to be offended again, so you stay far from it. Yeah, the right side of the road, you stand left. That's it. But I forgive. I have forgiven that person. But I was not walking on the same side as you with them. Is that true for you? That's it. Is that how Jesus did with us? When he forgives us? What offended him? As he distanced himself from us and said, I love it from afar. That's it. So these are what we need to look at, to assess it. Not from man's standpoint, by what he says, but from God's standpoint. Ask the question, how did God forgive you? Has he distanced himself? Is he not still remaining his mercy with you, even though you treated somebody else this way? You know what I'm saying? And I think that is what we get into that. To see Christ, and then to see Christ, the light of Christ shining, then so they see themselves. And you're lacking the image of Christ, fully. So it's just a partial forgiveness. It's not true.
Ephesians 4, verse 31 and 32 says, let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from among you with all malice, and be kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as God, for Christ's sake, hath forgiven you. So this is telling us that we are to forgive each other the same way God has forgiven us. The same way we were forgiven, which we dealt with today, showing how we were forgiven unconditionally by Christ and by Him taking our place of death. We didn't have to ask Him to forgive us. He took the initiative and forgave us. So we are to forgive each other the same way. And the word forgiven there is the word charizomai, which means, which comes from grace, which is unconditional. You don't ask for it, it is granted. And we are to exercise that same charizomai, that same forgiveness towards each other. Don't wait until your brother or your sister come and beg for our forgiveness before we forgive them. We are to forgive them the same way God forgave us, unconditionally. So even if they don't come, we still forgive them. And that type of forgiveness does not come from within our hearts naturally. It comes from above. It comes from having a revelation of who He is, a revelation of His forgiveness. That is what we have to definitely pray for. That revelation to be made real in our hearts and real in our experience.
Right, that's what it's about.
Because I can have different questions.
What?
Okay, so let me start.
Make sure you use your pen. You don't want to.
Okay, so I'll ask them and then take note, please. One, what if somebody does not think that they need forgiveness? They don't think that they have wronged you. You know, and they are looking at you wishing you the best. So that's one question.
Okay, someone does what?
They don't think that they require forgiveness. So they are still hoping it works for you. And
That last thing.
they're still wishing you the best.
Oh, they're wishing it was for you.
Of you, yeah, for you. How do you factor in forgiveness into that situation? That's one question. Two, the second question, I think that Manolo answered it when he was talking more or less, when he summarized it, about the human condition. So yes, you have forgiven somebody, but you still have a problem approaching them. You still have a problem crossing the road, because we need to remember we are humans too, and we hurt. We hurt. And yes, I agree that we look to Christ, even as Christ forgave us all. I agree with that. And I think, yes, that is the key to help us to forgive entirely and to drop everything and to absorb the offense within ourselves, right? So I think if I look at that question that I had. The third question though is, what about cases of sexual abuse, of rape? I remember studying a Sabbath school lesson many, many years ago, over a decade ago. And they were saying that forgiveness has to be putting yourself back in the position for somebody to do the same thing to you again. That is what the lesson said. That it was forgiveness, and I don't agree with that. Because a woman who is physically abused, encountering Jesus and charisma, she can, yes, forgive that man who abused her. But it would be foolish of her to put herself back in that situation, even though she loves him. I wouldn't agree with her putting herself back. So those are three.
That's if he doesn't change. He doesn't change. I'm saying if he doesn't change,
But he has to experience charisma.
Right.
let me start with your last question. All right. So you said Ellen will answer the second one.
The second one, yes.
So
The process, that process, based on our,
yeah.
So the first one is that the person doesn't see that they did anything wrong, right?
we still go to that person and ask forgiveness for that person who, because even though the person is not wrong, the one who has been offended is not wrong. According to God, we are expected to go to the person who offended us. That person doesn't see themselves as doing something wrong. You still go to that person. The person will take over. You still go.
Okay.
Then I'm going to agree with the last one. The first one.
How many moderators?
Trying to leave the hard one for
The easy one. That's the easy one.
That's the easy one. All right. So I would like to do the easy one. Go ahead. The third one.
I can do it.
Okay.
Take a shot. How do you, what about, ask for someone who has been hurt with a degree of being raped or being sexually abused or physically abused? Are they willing to forgiveness? How do they forgive that person and maintain a relationship with that person? You know, do they forgive and still maintain a relationship or not? And if they maintain a relationship, will that be bonds for more for continuous abuse, right? That's, I think I'm hearing a question like that. And your question is true, and the implication to some of the things that in the question is true also. That some individuals, their minds are so, their minds are so corrupt, they're so far gone that that nothing, as it were, can change them. The forgiveness that they see in you, they just ignore it. The forgiveness they see in Christ, just weakness, you know. They don't appreciate it. It doesn't move them. It doesn't move their heart. It doesn't move them to change. It doesn't move them to repentance. That's a reality. As I said, that indeed the forgiveness can soften, but light can also, they say, the sun can also harden some things. You know? So how do you deal with the fact that you forgive these individuals, but you have to guard yourself, right? That's a reality. Look at how Christ forgives us. I believe that's where we need to start. Look at how God forgives us, right? We are the one who offended him, right? The whole world offended him, yet he forgives. So, in him forgiving us now for breaking his law, for breaking his heart, he now, who is the victim, set the boundaries now for this new relationship. Okay. He sets the boundaries. And we know because we love him and appreciate him, we abide by his boundaries. You know? And that's the way we ought to also deal with each other. There are some cases where some people we forgive, they offend us so badly that, and they keep offending us, they keep doing things, to hurt us. So sometimes we forgive them, but I believe that, like God, we need to also establish a new boundaries, for our relationship. We just can't forgive and then we go back into the abuse. I don't think God will want that, right? Forgive someone who's abusing you sexually or abusing you, and you forgive them, but yet you go back in that same environment, that same, and that person's mind has not changed, So you set the boundaries for the new relationship, even though you forgive the person, That's wisdom, And I believe that also can be seen in the relationship with God and us. We offended him, he set the boundaries, he set the rules for the relationship. And having done so, we who love him will abide by those rules, by those boundaries that he has set. Nothing wrong with it. That's wisdom. So, there's something else I wanted to add to that, but I can't remember the other piece that you mentioned. So, yes, that was it. That's it, right?
That's it, yes. That's a third question. And I like what you said there, showing us that there are boundaries that God would have set up for a new relationship with him, or even our relationship that is developing to be restored. Right? I don't think I've ever heard that before. Like what you said, there are boundaries, and that should be how we handle even human relationship that would have suffered because of that. So, yes. But then the first question, so let's keep the first question. I don't know if you want to handle that one.
I don't know praise.
Yes, so what is someone to see that they hurt you? Or does it say that they hurt you? Or they think that they hurt you?
They don't think
they don't think that's it.
Yeah.
Still wishing bad for you.
But they still wishing bad for you.
I get what you.
Why is it not hurting you to wish bad for you?
Yeah.
They're wishing bad for you, but they don't think they're wishing bad for you. It's hurting you.
No, what she's saying is that they don't believe that they are hurt. So in their mind, they are loving her.
But they're still wishing bad for her.
Yeah, they gloat over anything bad that comes your way. And like you look for it. You understand what I say? The true man.
Like what?
Like you look for that, the good for you.
Oh, you deserve what you get.
That's right. So they, they don't think that they have done anything that requires forgiveness. Should you go and forgive them?
Well, the issue of forgiveness is, of course, it's when there is an offense, right? That warrants now reconciliation for a relationship. So it precedes any kind of renewal of a relationship when offense has broken the relationship. Usually when offenses occur, both parties usually know that yes, offense has been broken. But in this case it's unique because you're saying the other party is not admitting that there is an offense. And for them, the relationship is not broken. They can still deal with you. But whatever they did, in other words, they're saying that you deserve it. You know, whatever they did, they're justifying it. They don't see it as an offense. You know what I'm saying? They don't see it as an offense. You know, I think that may need some conversation because, especially if it still continues. You know what I'm saying? It might not be like extreme. But they may be doing, a lot of time people are doing stuff. And they need to know what you're doing. It's offensive. You know, they may think that it's okay to do this thing, and they deal with you as though nothing has happened wrong. That's saying, and they continue to do the same thing. And while it's important that you're looking at Christ's forgiveness for you and believe that He wants you to forgive those who offend you. And you're seeking to not have resentment for this person. But this person continue to do this and seek to justify by saying, I did anything wrong. Right? So I believe it's a conversation to begin with. Right? So to point out that, you know, I said earlier today in the book of Luke, it said, if you want to offend 7 times, they will rebuke him and forgive him. So there needs to be some rebuking in terms of, as the Spirit gives you utterance, you need to unheard the situation. Say, listen, this way that you've been talking to me in front of everybody, I don't like it. It's offensive. You may not say anything wrong with it because it's not going to you, it's coming to you. But I am offended. You know what I'm saying? So this is the beginning of how you even express your forgiveness. You know, correcting what is happening. Because if this person is denying or, trying to justify what they do, they don't see anything wrong, or they feel like there's nothing wrong, they continue to do it. And maybe saying like this, good for you, or something like that. They know inside that something is wrong. But there needs to be a conversation, I believe, that identify this issue that is wrong. So as this call for cease and desist. You know what I'm saying? Because then, okay, I don't like this. So please don't do that again. You know what I'm saying? This is offensive. You know what I'm saying? Especially if they continue to. If they did it one time and never happen again, sometimes we may overlook some situations. Lord, let's work on this person's heart. Give me that forgiveness to deal with them or something. It's something that is constant. And then you need to address it in a conversation respectfully with the person alone. The Bible says that Matthew chapter 18. Call it out privately, sit with them, and say, hey, you remember the other day when you had a conversation and Sister Brown was with Brother Brown, you spoke to yourself and you said something, you offended me. That, I don't say anything wrong with that. It's okay that you don't say anything wrong. But for me, offended, I felt hurt. Because I felt that all you spoke to me in the presence of others was believing in me. I'm sure you would not want me to speak to you about that. Or something like that. And if you cannot have a conversation, because part of the forgiveness and the reconciliation of this relationship involves actually 18. And I'm saying, where you are forgiven, you find this brother or sister. And, pray before you go, Lord, give me utterance. Give me the right words. Help me to have the Spirit of Christ. Let me not go there with condemning you. Let me go there with sweet life. So you go there with God. This thing is God. And you see it like repeating in another situation, almost. But you see the same pattern of behavior. So I believe at that point, the rebuke is important, meaning correcting, not always something that is easy, but that correcting of the situation as much as instructors. Find the person, talk to them, repent. So the object of talking is to bring them out, not just to correct them, but let's just see them doing something that is hurtful, and to hope that, for us to have good, harmonious relationship, let us see how we are hurting each other, not do that to each other. I wouldn't want to do that to you or that from something like that. And hopefully, preferably, they will recognize, even if they remain in that condition, say, I'm not saying the thing, I should be making a big deal over that. And some people might be like that. But you know what is important? You know what I'm saying? You're told in that situation. So even if sometimes you have a situation where it repeats itself. You know what I'm saying? And then maybe you'll ask, how do I handle that? Do I still forgive? Forgiveness is not endless. It's not conditional to some situation. On the injured party side, it's just an ongoing, constant. Forgive 70 times 7. Constant. So yes, you still need to maintain that forgiveness of Christ to you and to forgive the same way. The recipient is another story. They may not receive their forgiveness. So forgiveness is not something that, okay, you're giving and you have to receive it. No, it's something that you're doing because of how it's done for you. So constantly as you see Christ's forgiveness to you, the undeserving, it empowers you to do the same for the person who's undeserving. So for you to relate to this person without resentment and anger, then forgiveness must happen. Otherwise you will relate to this person with resentment and anger constantly. You will suffer, turn up your nose when you see them. You will just cringe when you come in their presence because what you're bearing and harboring to resentment. But the issue of forgiveness really is to win them back. That's always the object, but you will not always win back everybody in every case. Some case, some people remain, remember I said this morning, unpardonable. Unpardonable. In other words, I don't want you more. I don't want a reconciliation. I don't want a relationship with you. What God does, how does He treat them? Leave them alone. Eventually. That's what happened in the end, right? But only that your actions of rejection have incurred another sin, a new transgression that God did not like, and you will suffer the consequence of that. But you, God can tell who He is, He's not after hellfire. He doesn't change. He's not like, okay, because of hellfire, He's an unforgiving God. No, He's still the same. But those who rejected Him have hardened themselves against Him. The Bible says the light sometimes softens from the sun, but sometimes it hardens. And it's not that the light is hardened, it's the resistance of the light that creates that hardness. You know what I'm saying? To resist that thought of forgiveness, you only can become hardened. So that's why that person is going to be hardening themselves, not against you, but against God. And so you can still pray for that person. You know what I'm saying? You can still pray for that person, but you made it clear what you did.
Okay. I saw two hands. Yes.
What if you can combine, as the chairperson, can you combine the answer that he has given and the one that I have given to the system? Combine
The first question.
Yeah, combine the answer to both of them, right? In terms of the fact that setting the boundaries, the person who is injured, setting boundaries for a new relationship because they don't want to be hurt, right? So they set certain parameters. Yes, and even though they forgive, right? What nobody's talking about, we forgive, but you have certain new boundaries.
I believe that in the case of the third question, it is appropriate, very appropriate,
So they combine them with
No, I'm not going to combine because not every case, the boundary in this case is highlighting the issue, which God has called it to. But this is a different case. We can't compare all the cases here, right? So, because you find that we have a human tendency to protect ourselves. You know what I'm saying? And in that protection, we create ideas what boundaries should look like. Not God's idea of what boundaries should look like. In a physical and a sexual abusive relationship, I absolutely do. That you must set these boundaries. Right? But God set these boundaries for us because of how we are. We are offensive to God. And we constantly remain in the same attitude. Right? But when you, like the situation you talk about in the first instance, the Bible asks you to go to this brother and sister and you declare what the issue is that I don't like. I believe in that declaration. It's the boundary. You already declared, I don't like this. Now, if it continues to happen, then I believe at that point, then you can start thinking about some boundaries, right? But initially, you make it clear that I don't know, and this is wrong. You know what I'm saying? This is wrong with what you do. In some cases, you have forgiveness in treating somebody correct, and without even talking about the situation. The act or actions that you can demonstrate to them really will won their hearts. So you don't have to go in a conversation about the situation. They may even come back and say, you know, my sister, I'm sorry. You didn't set a boundary. You just forgave them, right? And you showed kindness to them. And it moved their heart. Now, in the cases where there's constance in the attitude of resisting forgiveness, then it's necessary to consider boundaries being set in those type of relationships. You know what I'm saying? Those situations. Because then you see there is a constance in remaining in resistance. And so you set these boundaries for still a harmonious civil communication. You understand? Not that you're trying to just protect yourself, right? But you're setting it for it to be civil with this person. So you set these boundaries. But we can't just say, you know, every time when we forgive, we need to set boundaries. I believe that there are some situations that our action for forgiveness is just enough that set that boundary, that create an atmosphere, right? So it's not all the time when you're forgiving. Okay, so we need to have boundaries now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you have to see what relationship, what situation require.
Yeah.
So God set boundaries because of our condition. You know what I'm saying? Of how we are in a constant state. And He needs, and the boundary that He sets is to keep us in His forgiveness. Meaning having, abiding in a spirit of His forgiveness. So even that is the boundary. He said, if you keep in memory what I have done for you, it will keep you safe. But then when we don't keep it in memory, then He has to set some other parameters for us. Because we're not keeping it in memory. But He started simple. He started with a soft hand. He said, listen, you know, if you just keep my love, for the love of Christ constrained. So if you judge that one died for all, then you will not live unto yourself. You will not live. You will not live unto yourself. But live unto who? Him who died for you. So these are simple principles of His love. He's not setting these parameters to say, no, you have to do this and do this and do this. He's looking to see that His love is enough to compel you to respond in gratitude and live in loyalty to Him. But then when you continue now to jump out, now He has to start setting these kind of boundaries. Listen, you need to stop. You need to, don't go to this place. No, start setting these boundaries because you're not abiding in the love. So I believe that we must equate it based on these situations. Because always see the Bible is saying, if you keep in memory the stuff that I did for you at the cross, it will keep you in a abiding relationship. Right?
Yes. But I think you did an excellent job in showing that it is really dependent on if the forgiveness is not accepted and the negative behavior continues consistent. Eventually there will be boundaries. Let's say that parent-child or marital relationship has been involved and the child has to involved and so on.
Right.
So in that kind of context, so if I had to leave the job, all right? So I think, yeah. Okay, so we had 2 hands that went up a while ago. So,
Okay,
yeah.
Right? And it's real. My man said that, remember, we are humans, right?
Yes.
And yes, we are humans, right? And even though we are human, what calls for us is to love unconditionally.
Yes.
So we not see, we have to trust what God says about us, you know. Lord, that we are, Galatians 2:20, that I am crucified with Christ. Nevertheless, it's not I that live, but Christ that lives in me.
Yes.
And the life that I now live, I live by the faith of the Son of God who loves me.
Yes.
You know? And these are things we have to claim. Otherwise, we'll continue to make excuses and say, I'm only human. You know, when we can't go down that road and say we are only human, we have to become, you know, I am a partaker of divine nature. And this is what God wants for me. You know, so we have to, it's hard, I know it's hard. You know, humanly speaking, but with God, all things are possible.
Can I add to my sister's?
Yes.
Beautiful. I love that. And you know, the promise is that He will not give us more than we can bear. The truth is that we all will have to bear the cross. We all have to bear, and the cross is about forgiveness. And to forgive is not easy. Look what it took for Him to forgive us. And we have to bear that as it relates to each other. And it can be difficult. Some of us, the forgiveness is more difficult for us than others. Others have a little you know, others can deal with issues of forgiveness much more than you or I can, right? But the Lord promised that He will only allow what we can bear. I have seen individuals, the elder here, he has had to deal with some issues, and I have to say, wow, I don't think I could deal with it. He had to deal with some issues of forgiveness that just blew my mind, and he just you know, he just bear with it. And I don't think, you know, I'm saying to myself, I don't think I can bear that cross. But yet I have my own cross to bear as it relates to forgiveness as well. But the end result is the same. The result is the same in that forgiving does something to the mind as well. Because forgiving reveals that, you know, we know Christ's forgiveness is now in us. Whether it is a small cross or a big cross, whether it's a little bit of forgiveness, offense you have to deal with, or a large, you know, it reveals that the only way it can be done is through the power of the cross, or through the revelation that comes from the cross. So that I think is significant.
And just to quickly add, Pastor, I know you're coming to us, but you know, as Pastor said, that you know, some people seem to be able to hear some stuff that when you listen to their stories, you're like, man, I couldn't hear that. But the honest truth is that if that same person was hearing that situation, was listening, somebody else in that situation, they would say the same thing. They would, I don't know if you follow what I just said, right? You know, this person that we're looking at is bearing something, right? And we're saying, man, I could bear this. Because, you know, you're looking at it from a human perspective. But then, maybe if you're in that situation, or even worse, You don't know how you survive it, but you're bearing it, not because you're able to, because God is with you. So you never know. Only God knows what you can bear. You may say, I can't bear this, and I've seen in many situations, where people say they can't bear this. I wouldn't be able to survive. And God allowed worse to come. And they survived it. Not because of their might or power, but God knew that they were able to manage. So we sometimes really don't know what we can do, honestly, until we are in the situation. Then we will know whether or not we can do it. And then we realize it's not by our might or strength. God can accept it.
And I think the point is that what we are bearing now, right, if we, by His grace, overcome it, then we are prepared to deal with even
Worse.
other offenses,
Yes.
because did I say, someone said that it's either we are in, but it's either we are in a situation, or either we are coming out of it.
We go in.
No, we are going into it.
Yeah, no, it's not coming out and going in or in it. I can't escape it if you want to choose the Christian life.
Yes, and that's a Christian experience.
Yes.
It's never safe, it's never that we have reached, we can rest on our laurels.
That's what's in there.
What's that?
I said the persecution is coming for us, what's in there, and what's in there.
Yes. Okay.
We have to
Yes. And it's really, like I also like just a few days ago, how things, if you really look at it just without believing that this is ready for God to handle, and she was telling me, don't worry about it, I think on too much, God is good. God is the one that we study this and handle it, because life is really becoming more and more frightening. Yes, and I'm just seeing, to me, I'm seeing the signs that really, very, very soon, all true Christians will have to make up their mind whether you're ready to die. Like I preached about recently, are we ready to get in trouble for Christ? Are we ready to get in trouble for Christ? Yeah, I'm seeing the signs showing that it's very much closer to begin to be. We have to face it. Yes. Right? But this Christ, He's the one to help us through and make it successful for us. To stand for Him.
In situation where forgiveness is necessary, applicable or warranted, does not always pay or seeks or it seems alienated that reconciliation is compatible with forgiveness for that particular situation. Now, I need to explain it. Right now I'm going through a situation, family situation, escalated about 11 months now. Escalated.
Yes.
So it was there.
Right.
It could be my negligence in facing it and dealing with it. That's a possibility. But I forbear with it, tolerated it, dealt with it in my way until it escalated. Now, I am, like in the case of God here, from its inception, I've been forgiven, tolerant, reconciled, and everything in that situation. So the flip side of the coin, as we projected just now, the one that is bringing the offense to the victim. So the victim now is forgiven, is tolerant, is respectful, no resentment is being held.
Right.
That act of money. But I'm daily suffering and broken heart because I'm yielding longing, desiring, and has already forgiven them wholeheartedly. Absolutely no resentment. None. Actually, how about me? Right? And they are resentful in as far as reconciling or forgiving or acknowledging, and all that is not necessary on my part. I'm not demanding it or desiring it. I have already given that up in terms of giving for.
Right.
So my conscience, my mind, my heart, everything is clear. But as I relate to the situation that we are discussing, I realize that forgiveness does not always give the possibility of reconciliation on the part of the one who takes offense to you. So in the case of God, He has forgiven us. His longing, His desire, His long suffering, His forbearance, His grace, His mercy, everything is applicable to the one He has forgiven, the human race. But how do we deal in response? People are so outrightly telling us, you got it a lot of love, but you don't want to suffer. That is a statement of resentment. Animosity and conflict in as far as they are concerned with God. I got a little, and things like that. Those are evident. But is that God mind toward them? So technically, when boundaries are being described, who are the ones setting boundaries? Who are the ones who have put limitation? That is in spite of their condition and resentfulness in expression and behavior. God is still by His mercy that they're not saved, waking them every morning, renewing it because He's faithful. And so when we look at situation in our own time, and we can see from that perspective, I think that was heaven. I feel lonely, alone, but that yearning is there. The effort to reach, it seemed impossible, difficult. But God knows my heart, He's going to make a way someday. That's my assurance. And my son is talk like how I used to. That black hat. I start to plead with him and say, hey, you're not that father yet. You have a so many prodigal son acts his part of his inheritance. You know, instead of that, why can't you die?
Yeah.
So I can get what belongs to him. And recognizing his ignorance, the father gave him something which represents our mortal existence. God gave us that, we didn't have to. He didn't have to. So He gave us that heritage, mortal existence. What do? We squander like God does. And He is longing and waiting and desiring that we will catch ourselves. And instead of remaining there and eating the big food, we will realize that the servant's food are more fatty than we are paid for. And the prodigal son is this anticipation of a ring and a robe that they said this morning. You see that robe equal, not your sacrifice or mine. That robe He has waiting there. We have inherited because of the robe.
Right. Yeah.
But we squandering that. And so when we look at forgiveness and reconciliation, we must see while they should be compatible, sometimes it seems impossible that it may be reality. Now that's the way it is.
Yes, and that's what I said to you, Brother Raj. My wife and I, we had a situation just like that family. Those family were very close. And then the relationship broke down for years, right? No communication at all, no communication. And coming out at the end of last year, because I try to,
I think comprehensive.
and I try to move out the tears. All right, and I told her, I miss you. I said, I miss you too. So I hope that will be your experience.
Yeah, I just want to quickly, respond. Love of Christ is compelling. I don't think we begin to understand what that means fully. And that's why he's saying to us, forgiveness is constant. It's not forgive today and based on the response of the other person. You start with it's a constant. If you look up what we looked at, the definition, it never says, giving up the right to resentment and only these times. Right? Certain times, certain situations. It just says, giving up the right to resentment. And that means the definition stands the same all the time. Right? So you are having anger because there was an affection. And it's saying, well, in order to experience forgiveness, it comes with giving up the right to resentment and anger for that offense. That's what it means. Right? As it relates to reconciliation, God, that's what He intends. But God knows not everyone He forgives and continue to show forgiveness, renewing the persons of the atheists and those who reject God and they not still believe. You know what I'm saying? And maybe some of their cases are not already decided finally in probation closed. Maybe there is still some room for the Spirit working with them, even in their state of existence. Still, that God is showing mercy to them by renewing His forgiveness to them every day. Right? So it's a posture of God that remains the same thing. Doesn't change. Right? Does not change. No, He knows that some cases harden themselves. So the wrath of God does not come upon man merely because they sin, but because they remain in a state of existence. So you will be with somebody who you have forgiven. You're experiencing that holding and anger when you think about the person and when you see them. You know, that angry feeling you had before because you've hurt. You know what I'm saying? My sister God said, you're a human being, you're hurt. You know, God is emotional. I believe He's hurt by sometimes how we. And so that feeling of hurt eventually goes away in time because you're experiencing God's forgiveness to you, the undeserving. And you're experiencing that forgiveness in dealing with absorbing hurt from somebody to be unforgiven. He's also forgiven. So God heals you. That's what He does for you when you forgive. You're being healed in the process. So He takes away your hurt. He takes away your pain. And the more you exemplify and demonstrate giving up the right to resentment, you are actually being healed. You know, the society says forgiveness is for you, not for the other person. I don't agree with that. Because when God forgave, He didn't do it for Himself. You follow what I'm saying? He did it so that we can see that He's not against us. And His arms is open wide to receive us. So He did it for us. When Jesus gave His life, He didn't give His life for Himself. He gave it for us. You know what I'm saying? But here the thing, the beneficial thing. The forgiveness that we give to somebody who's undeserving, for them, give for them, is actually healing us in the process. So that we are not built up with this anger and resentment and poisoning our blood and our system. You know what I'm saying? We are being healed in the process. So that's why it becomes a constant. So every time you go in a person's presence, you don't get a sense of frenzy and you don't start getting mad and you're poisoning your body again all over. but you are really experiencing a hope and praying that the forgiveness and the kindness that you have shown will soften your hearts. No, Brother Brandt, it takes a lot of prayer, I would say. Because in the Bible, in the book of Matthew, when Jesus was talking about forgiving, being perfect as he is, he said, pray for them that despitefully use us as man and people against them. Wrong. Pray for them. Earnestly. Even if it ends up that you never ever reconcile. Pray for it, because you'll get healing. God see what you need. And you'll feel that void in your heart. You know, because that's the same way he feels. When we resist him and stay, he feels that void of separation from us, and he wants that relationship back, just as though you. So what you're going through is exactly what Jesus is going through. Because he wants to redeem, he wants to reconcile us with, but we are resisting that reconciliation. And at some point, he will have to let go. So even Lucifer, who sinned against God, after he left, he was now condemned, no reconciliation happening for him again. He's lost. He came back to Jesus, the pen of inspiration, and said, "Oh, Jesus, I messed up. I messed up. You know, I'm repenting of what I did and I want to back." And Jesus could have, according to the pen of inspiration, I believe, he could have been firm in his condition, without emotions. So listen, Lucifer, you messed up, man. Look what you created. There's no way I could take you back. You're crazy. But the pen of inspiration said, Jesus, try. So even after Lucifer was already lost, it hurt Jesus to know that the being that he created and put in such an exalted position had done this and is gone from him forever. And so he begged Jesus still after he was lost. So it's the same experience we are going to have in losing someone who don't want to receive our forgiveness, who is not willing for reconciliation. We will go through that pain. We will go through that feeling of separation. However, God, as we demonstrate forgiveness, even in the encounter, the communication, still demonstrate kindness. Because God is healing us at the same time. But then you have to leave the rest to the Lord. You say, listen, I can't change his heart. I will be who you want me to be to this individual, regardless of how they are to me. But I'm praying that you touch this person. I'm hoping that one day they will reconcile. So the Bible says God is not willing that anything lost. That is his desire. That's his hope that none be lost, but he knows that any will be lost. More be lost than we saved. But then he's still dealing with even those. Judas kissed Jesus. I'm just showing you the cases. Judas kissed Jesus. And in the middle of the kiss, remember, Jesus already left, and Jesus said, "Go do what you're doing, go do it quickly," right? Yes. And the Bible says Satan took over Judas. And so when he did whatever he did, Satan already took him over. So he's already on the ground of abundance. Still, he came back to Jesus and gave him a kiss of the truth. How did Jesus respond? Oh, from here. You sell me out? No, right. He said, "Friend, wherefore thou comest? Where you coming from? Friend." So he still treated him with forgiveness, even in his state. Yeah. You follow what I'm saying? So the object is to see how Jesus forgives. And he said, "Forgive as I have forgiven." And so that's what we're learning. We're learning about Jesus, not man standard, man with one ways, but the way Jesus. So pray, my brother. Pray that God will turn your heart. Even if he doesn't, you just continue.
He doesn't have the one there in Judas' case, where we have the conclusion that we see people that being beyond reconciliation, that in spite of present circumstances, we treat them as a confirmation.
Regardless.
So Sister Carol's hand, Sister Paul.
Yes, let me respond quickly. There's a scripture text and I was looking for that, just didn't find it. If you remember that scripture text. Talking about, it talked about we are to forgive those who offend us, right? But I think Christ also saying, but woe unto him who through the offense come. I don't know if you remember that text.
Yeah.
You know? So there are people who constantly offend us. And we are to forgive them. But then there is that warning. Woe unto them who through the offense come. So the one who keep offending,
Yes.
there is that judgment that will come upon him, but we are not the one to
I wish that.
right, we are not the one to exercise that judgment. God is the one who will do it, and they need to be aware of that. And we also in the church, some of us we offend each other every day. And we ought to realize that if we keep offending others, that takes a pride to us. It shows that God's forgiveness is not in our hearts. So therefore we keep offending others. When His forgiveness, which also is His love, which is also His righteousness, comes into us, it brings order. It helps us to live in harmony with His commandments, and with each other. And if we keep offending, it shows that there is a problem there with the gospel of Christ in our lives. And woe will be unto us if we keep offending our brothers and sisters. And God is the one who will exercise that. But that's part of what we have to warn, we have to give to each other also. As pastors, we have to give that warning. Yes, we preach forgiving those who offend us, but also the warning that Christ gave, to whom the offense come, have to be careful.
All right, Sister Carol.
All that we are saying, how does it relate to the text that say, let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus? Because at times, and as much as we go through that process where our family puts us and all that, at times that we hurt God as well, many times. And how does God deal with us as individuals? Does He reject us? Does He push us aside? Does He say, go beyond who you are, whatever? He treats us with love and always with an open arm, willing for us to come back. And so, we do our best, the best that we could to those who hurt us. We do the best, and that is what we could do. And God said, ask and pray that God work up the situation and bring comfort and hope and reconciliation. So, we now have to have this mind, as I say, how does it relate? With the text that say, let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus. I think it is in Ephesians 5.
Yes.
Yes. How does it relate?
Sorry.
When the text was talking about the Pharisees who were proselyting others, who went far to proselyte others in the unrighteous ways that they were living. And Jesus was saying to them, you are being offensive in evil, seeking to have others be like you. And so, woe unto you through whom the offense came, because be like you. Well, woe unto you who have proselyted people to become like you.
Oh, okay.
So woe unto him who the offense has come. Because they are being like you, they are being the way they are because of you. That's the woe. And so he was upset to know that they are even training people to be like themselves. So he said, woe unto you whom the offense come, because you caused them to be the way they are, because of their hypocrisy. So that's what the text is really making reference to. But Pastor, I understand what Pastor is saying, and I would rather use the Jonah scenario, Pastor. I would rather use the older brother in the prodigal situation to show the woes. There was no woes in the story. But you see the woes because of the end of the story. Right. They remain in a position unwilling to receive or give forgiveness. And the story just ends like that. With no hope. And I think it's sad because these are people who are servants of God. In God's house, all this time, never left the house. Still have never learned from the Father of us. No war was cast upon them. However, you see all their end works. And it's a silent, and to me, that is a war. That you don't want to end up like, the older brother of the prodigal son. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But as the sister says, the idea is, how do we respond? Okay, the pastor, our responsibility is to warn the dangers of this condition, and warn about remaining in a condition of resisting and maintaining in resentment and anger. We have a responsibility to warn about how do we respond in individual cases, which what you're asking, to this situation, which the sister made a point. That Jesus said, have this man in you, how have I treated you? Who is undeserving? So the issue is, how does Jesus handle a situation like this? That's the question we must answer. Because we want to respond the way he responds to us. Yeah. We want to respond to others. So there is an appropriate time for the war. I'm saying there are times for you too. Like I said, my sister, that if the offense from you, the Bible also gives you instruction. Pull the person aside privately and tell them what you did was wrong. You hurt to my soul when you said that, whether they agree with you or not. The Bible said, rebuke, but then forgive. So yes, you have responsibility of correcting too. When there is wrongdoing and something happened, and the offense happened to you. There are times when God gave you the ability to forgive to the point that, you never address a situation, and the way you're dealing with the person, you see that it actually corrected your attitude. And then you probably wouldn't have to address it because God and the Spirit work on that. But there are times when it continues, you have to talk about it. And the Bible gives you instruction how to do it. Even if it was a situation where several people were there and you were offended by this person, still pull them aside privately. Let them see your intent is not exposed to belittle them for what they did, because they deserve it to belittle. But to really show the love of Christ before you to them. Speak to them, the way you want to be spoken. You know what I'm saying? To be corrected. And the object is to let them know you have their interests at heart, even though they offended you. This is wrong, you should have done this. You wouldn't want me to do this to you, and I wouldn't want to. It is wrong, you wouldn't do it again. You know what I'm saying?
Pastor, when you go to talk to them, people talk to them Indian, and most people talk to them on Christ, like
absolutely.
Sometimes things that we say is how we say it. Sometimes you say the same thing and you take it and talk nice with them. When you say something, you take it and when you don't talk to them, they're feeling so mashed up and they don't care to talk to you at all. So we have to be so careful in how we say it.
True.
Sister,
Which I but I guess I did something from Brother Raj. It made me think of in our forgiveness, if we could take justification. Justification is what I want to use, I don't even know. But for instance, when he said, like, I know I did my part, I forgive, and I know I did my part, so I feel in my heart, I did good. But I'm seeing it as still selfish, It has to go beyond that. You have to see the other person as the sacrifice of the cross, and it has to pain us to reach there, so that when we don't get in our response, we make every effort. We can't just stay back and say, I forgive them. In my heart, I forgive them, and I know I forgive them. But we have to reach out. And we have to reach out by action. By text, by making ourselves, put ourselves in place, the same morning, evening, so we can create something. But if we just say that, I forgive, and I know I forgive, and I have no resentment, but don't do anything, we have to go beyond that. These are, for Christ so loved the world that he gave, so we have to be so mindful that it's not us, it's not just us, but it's what Christ, oh my gosh, I'm feeling emotional. But it is beyond us.
Yeah.
So I forgive, yes. I forgive, I try to reach out and thing, but yes. But you can't be satisfied with that. You can't be satisfied with saying, I do my part. I forgive in my heart, I forgive. But you have to reach out. You have to make something to create confusion, to create, something like that. I don't know if
I'm hoping
that's why
you misunderstand my comments, but it was just self-justifying, but it was bringing out what is said in terms of effort made. And when I use the word resentment, I'm talking about a response, so that I am the victim, and I'm not saying that to justify myself, that's a fact in regard to the evidence.
Right.
And here it is, you are reaching out. You are offended, but you are reaching out. You take the initiative, you are reaching out. And you are being responded to resentful and pushy. That kind of thing. There's no effort for reconciliation. So that very heartbreak is so constant, because in my heart, that is what I want. I want reconciliation. I have already forgiven, but the resentment there, that one made reference to more than us. People are saying God is a God of love. Why does he allow suffering? And they are making that statement of resentment to God's love, which they are experiencing and benefiting.
but they don't know.
And no, but that's another point of that they are blinded. In the circumstance we are dealing with, I am praying that light and understanding will come to the family so that they will see, because there's a blindness. They are not seeing the good, and they are resentful to the good. That is, ministered or unministered, so that it's real. So I'm hoping that, sometimes our language of expression gives wrong impression, I imagine, right? So that I just a self-justifying one, and I'm not rebutting, I'm just sharing in light of the fact that you are still speaking.
Let me say something quickly to your statement.
Yeah, before we want to start our question because we want to just take another 15 minutes just to you want to knock it after we finish the question.
Yes. Okay. The Bible says that tells us when God's love is perfected in our hearts, then there's no fear. And the truth is that God's love in our hearts right now is on different levels. And God wants to bring us to a point whereby His love will be perfected in our hearts. And when that love of God is perfected in our hearts, we will have that same type of feeling towards our enemies, towards those who offended us, the same way Christ was able to exercise that same type of concern for his enemies, for Judas, for Lucifer. We too will exercise that same type of desire in our hearts for those who are lost, for those who are going in the wrong direction. We will have a desire in our heart for them to be saved. And even now we will seek to bring about their restoration. We want them to be saved. When God's love is perfected in our hearts, in spite of how much they may offend us, because of God's love in our hearts, we want them to be saved. And we will do some things that the ordinary person will do. We will treat them in ways that the ordinary person does not. And of our own we cannot do it. It is only when His love is in our hearts and we are responding to that. So that's a challenge indeed for all of us, and that's where God wants to bring us.